Y'all want to hear about that time I met Diddy? Well, okay, let me back up a little bit. I didn't actually meet him, but I did stand about 20 to 30 feet away from him when he was speaking on the stage. So let me back up a little bit. In August of 2023, I believe it was the end of August, around the end of August, I traveled to the great city of Atlanta, Georgia, for the first time to attend an event called InvestFest. InvestFest, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, was the first in-person event put on by EYL, Earn Your Leisure. If I'm not mistaken, their podcast, they have business building courses, etc. I'm honestly not sure how I heard about InvestFest, but it popped up on Instagram. But I don't remember who I was following or whose account it came up on. But I had never been to Atlanta before. If I remember correctly, it was like this event was kind of on my radar, and then they dropped the prices to the conference. So it was something like under $200 a ticket. So I was like, you know what? Huge believer in in-person conferences. Don't know too much about this group EYL, but I've also never been to Atlanta before. So let's do this. I really hate to say this, but I think in 2023, it may have been too early for this group to launch an in-person event like this. I don't have any, I'm not happy to admit this, but the event was so disorganized. It was absolutely horrible and horrendous. I actually remember towards the end thinking to myself, like, wow, I kind of want a refund, but I didn't really pay much. It's my time that I came, coming out to Atlanta, Georgia, and this event just was so sloppy disorganized, with all due respect. So I'm not really into celebrity culture, celebrity world, so I knew that Diddy was a powerful person. I knew that the guy was a billionaire, and sure, I saw that he was going to be the headliner, so that, definitely interested me. I also knew that Steve Harvey was going to be there, and if I'm not mistaken, there was going to be a performance by Jeezy. I couldn't tell you what Jeezy looks like, what he looked like. I'm actually not even 100% sure it was him, if you want me to be completely honest, but anyway, I figured I'll have a good time. Honestly, some of this was not the organizer's fault. The fact that P. Diddy came something like 3 hours late, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 hours late, threw everything off because obviously everybody's there to see Diddy. And I just remember Steve Harvey, there was this video of him where they took him to the vendor area, and the man, come on, how much is Steve Harvey worth? And I remember it really rubbed me the wrong way that you saw this man like taking pictures of people's merchandise, but he didn't actually open up his wallet to buy anything. Mind you, P. Diddy was there to present $1 million check to the organizers. He was giving like not recovery tour, but he was going on a tour giving away money. He had just given $1 million check as well, if I'm not mistaken, to Howard University, his alma mater. So anyway, so it comes to the panel, right? Everybody's been waiting for. Again, this threw a wrench in the entire conference. It threw everyone else's panels off because, again, nobody's gonna come to InvestFest and miss P. Diddy, right? Miss Diddy. So I'll never forget my first impression, and I'm a huge energy person, so I'm a firm believer that your energy introduces you first before anything else. The man has a dark energy. He has a very, very dark energy. I remember he did not take his sunglasses off. And I did take a couple videos of him speaking, but I erased them just because I felt really weird. And this was mind you, this was the year before the video came out of him beating up Cassie Ventura. This was before all the allegations. This was before any of the indictments, all that, right? This was back in 2023. Again, this was before the public knew, but no, we all know that we're sure Diddy knew more than the public knew. Here's what I remember about his talk. The talk that he had, I remember him basically making this case, talking about how it's really lonely at the top, how once he became a billionaire, once he reached a certain level, that pretty much him and Jay-Z is one of the only people we can confide in, right? The only people we can trust, that kind of is on the same level as him, so that they kind of understand each other. I remember him talking about going down to Mexico when he launched his tequila brand and realizing that the people that were growing the agave, they were already planning on him to fail. So they didn't even plant the agave that was necessary. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but they didn't even plant what would have been necessary for him to produce his tequila. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the gist of what I remember about him talking. Again, it happened right before all these indictments and stuff came out. But I guess before I end this video, the only thing I'll say is that, or the last thing I'll say rather, is that InvestFest, it very well could be that it was catered to a different audience. Perhaps I am too white, I'm too white for a conference like this, and it may have been catered towards Black people, African Americans, and that's fine. There's plenty of resources for white presenting people like me, for mixed people that, you know what I'm saying, everything's not for us, and that's totally fine if that's why I felt so out of place. But again, there was just that organization element, and I wish them nothing but the best. I don't know that I'll drop money to go to InvestFest ever again, but hey, I did get to stand 20 to 30 feet away from P. Diddy,